Good stuff. Let's see. Where is the tweet?
Send it out to the masses. Let them know. We're back. The dozens and dozens. The Sixers are surging.
That they are. The
top five in the East is intriguing.
And it's also true.
Because they all need to be top two, except for maybe Milwaukee.
Whoa. What does that mean? Whoa.
That Milwaukee could win without being top two.
Oh, okay.
It's already ready.
I just didn't know where you're going with it. That's all.
Already ready. We haven't even started yet.
I just wanted to make sure. That's all. It's like, hey. Hashtag, what did you mean by that? That's all. And so where are we at? We'll get that here. We do have some people in the mist. I'm here for Heat Suns talk. What a game.
Yeah, how'd you feel about that game, by the way? The Heat were lighting Phoenix up.
Yeah, like they lit Phoenix up to such a degree, like I didn't know what to take away from it. Is kind of where I'm at. It was another, hey, this is a good team. We're missing some folks. We need to shoot threes to have a chance. And then they hit 15 threes in the first half. And it was like, oh, okay. It's one of those. Also, Phoenix defense was just kind of odd in the game.
Phoenix, the defense is getting sliced up. The issue is they won't have to face something like that again. It's like the random cutting, the random movement. Unless they play Denver. But Denver doesn't have the shooting.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that's a one-off.
Because they have another one against Golden State this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah. I forgot Golden State. Yeah, they don't want to see Golden State.
Yeah, so that might be a little interesting if they don't tighten those things back up. But yeah, like it was more fun Miami game than like, whoa, what's wrong with Phoenix? We already have a Boston question. We're gonna have some fun on this one.
Kyle Guy, thoughts on health Celtics horde spacing? Ha! You've come to the right place.
you have in fact chosen correctly.
Social media is on everything.
That's pretty true. All right.
I didn't get the link either, so I don't have the password. I don't have the ability to put comments on the screen. I didn't get the link for this.
I literally sent you. I don't know how else to. I don't know how else to do this. But all right, we can get rolling. It's funny. Before we officially start, it's funny. I was going through my phone to like clear out some space. I was looking for something, and I was also clearing out some space. And I found our message thread from before you switched your number and stuff. You know what the last thing that was in there?
Not the password.
It was, in fact, the password. I was like, huh. So, like, this is actually not a bit. This is, I know I sent it, and sure enough, the password is there.
New phone, who dis?
Yeah, okay. It sounds like someone should have written it down on like a Post-it note or something. But all right. Goodness.
I didn't know I was getting a new phone. Sorry. The new number. My bad. Carry the hell on.
All right. That's enough out of you. That's enough out of you. All right. Hi, hello, and welcome to another episode of The Dunker Spot. We are part of the Basketball News Podcast Network. I am your host, Nikias Duncan, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Steve Jones Jr. How are you, sir?
Doing well, doing great. Happy to be here. Excited to be here. Feeling the energy, feeling the love. It's been a year, wouldn't you say, Nikias?
It has, in fact, figuratively and literally been a year. This is the 1 year anniversary episode. What a wild time that we're living in. If you're joining us right now on the live stream, thank you. If you're listening to us on Tuesday morning or afternoon or whatever, then this is officially the day, January 11th, a year from today. First episode of Dunker Spot dropped. We kicked it off with Cleveland defense takes because Larry Nance Jr. was doing ridiculous things.
We is used very loosely there.
Okay, I was impressed by, by Cleveland's defense, spearheaded by all defensive first team candidate at the time, Larry Nance Jr. And then he got hurt shortly after and it plummeted, and Andre Drummond, that became a whole pod thing. Yeah.
It really spurred everything, honestly, if you think about it. It set the tone for the whole podcast. We kicked off our debut with Cleveland Cavaliers defensive rating. And then immediately started an argument about Andre Drummond, which then spurred a year of arguments about veteran big men. It all goes back to that one wonderful topic. And the Cavs are good now, so it's kind of funny.
Because of their defense. It all comes full circle. Cleveland, this is for you. That was for us. And this is why we're here. But on a more serious note, like, thank you to everyone that has supported us throughout this year. From the day one subscribers, from the day zero subscribers, because the launch of the pod kept getting pushed back, or whenever you joined us and started listening, if you told people about us, like, thank you. Genuinely, the support has been wild. It's been greatly appreciated, but it's been wild. As someone who does not like to speak, it's certainly been an endeavor for me to have a podcast and kind of be pushed out of my comfort zone. So I'm very glad that y'all have rocked with me for this long. And Steve in particular, thank you for rocking with my nonsense for a year. I have learned quite a bit. We've had our back and forths in good fun, but it is a pleasure to do the podcast with you every week. I'm still a little surprised that you chose to do it, but I am glad that you did. It wouldn't be what it is without you. So thank you for being here, man.
Well, thank you for your kind words. I appreciate it. Also, thank you for not throwing me over the top rope yet. It's also appreciated. But on a serious note, thank you, Dunkers, for listening. The way that you listen, the joke is embracing your bounce. But honestly, I really do appreciate that y'all really embrace your bounce and enjoy the type of breakdowns we give and allow us the room to create and be silly and have fun, but also break down the game that we love. It's just been a blast to have this platform, so I appreciate y'all, and hopefully we'll keep doing this.
That is that's the plan, at least until you take a head coaching job somewhere. But
Nikias, we've been over this, but my phone is dry. But dry as when you do the dishes and you leave them in there. And then you do the dry cycle again. Like, that's where my phone's at right now.
Yeah. All right. A likely story. Before we dig into our actual content for the night, I thank the listeners. I thank you. Quick shout out to the guests that we've had on over the past year. We've had Monica McNutt on twice, talked some Knicks stuff with us, to talk WNBA draft stuff with us. We've had Chris Herring on for awards talk. We've had Mark Jones on to talk Heat, to talk Western Conference teams. We've had Jackson Frank. We've had PD Webb on for draft content. We've had the Temple of Hoop guys. It's Kingsbro on Twitter. We've had Jason Maples on. Lakers, Pelicans, just bouncing all around there. We've had David, can't use his government. I'm not going to do that to him. But Sons David, subscribe to the Substack. But he gave us a tremendous background. Early in the pod cycle, we had Marcus Thompson, who was actually our first guest to talk some Warrior stuff with us. We talked James Wiseman and things like that. We've had Caitlin Cooper on this year, one of the best in the business. We've had Mike Prater on for Wizards Talk, also one of the best in the business. We want to keep rocking it out with awesome guests. We'll definitely try to have those people back and also some new ones this year. So be on the lookout for that. It's just been a blessing, man. It's been a blessing. Like, again, for me, like, this has been out of my comfort zone, but I've loved doing it. And I love that we get to talk about the game of basketball the way we want to. Those conversations can go long, as some people have told us, but like, I love that we do have the room to really just get into the nuts and bolts of basketball. Like I felt like there was a void there, and I feel like we're doing a darn good job of filling it.
Talk your talk, Nikias.
I think that that's about all I can get into without getting super uncomfortable. But I love it. Year one, we're doing a darn thing. Proud to be doing it. Let's keep the good times rolling. Speaking of which, let's get into some basketball talk. Klay Thompson made his debut on Sunday night. Oh, that's a good one. Before we get into character, what happens to the pod once it hits 30 years old? It depends on how many coverages it can play. If it can only play drop, then we may have some issues. But
Nikai is gonna go to a parking lot.
Hashtag there is film. Okay, Klay Thompson made his return to the NBA court after 900 plus days. In his debut, dropped 17 points on 7 of 18 shooting, shot 3 of 8 from 3. Steve, what were your initial takeaways from Klay Thompson's debut?
Just joy. Just joy. My mind immediately goes to the moment where starting lineups are being introduced and he was last, sitting there, soaking that moment in. And for him to be able to come back and play the game he loved after that kind of adversity and then just go play. Like he looked like Klay. Like that was the fun in it. He looked like Klay Thompson. He had me a little nervous on that dunk.
He got up though.
He did, but come on, I wasn't the only one. Like, wait a minute, the landing, is he good?
Yeah,
okay. He's sneering. All right, we're good. So once he started snarling, I was like, all right, let's exhale. But like, it's just it's a weird deal. I mean, we're sitting in watching a Warriors team that has Otto Porter driving, and you shade towards Andrew Wiggins to leave Klay Thompson open. And it's like,
what do you do with that?
The scouting report seems like it's tilted, but okay. But it's just good to see Klay back on the court. I'm just happy that he had that day in that moment.
It's been long overdue. Like the fans were obviously very happy for him. His teammates were happy for him. Like the outpouring from the league at large, seeing tweets from like Donovan Mitchell and other NBA stars around the league, like everyone seemed genuinely excited for Klay to make his return. Like he is one of the most beloved players in the league. And so it was nice for him just to have that moment. As far as on the court, the mobility looked good. Like it looked a little bit better than I expected it to look. Like I didn't know what to expect for the shot. Because on one hand, it's like, okay, this is his first NBA action in 2 years. Like I'm sure there's going to be some rust. But also based on the injury that he's had and like the rehab and stuff, like it feel like if there wasn't anything else he could do, it'd be shoot. So I felt like okay, maybe this would be a game that Klay hits 5 threes. This might be one he hits one, and the stat line will look great. End up in the middle. You take 38% from 3 on that volume. But like, he didn't look out of sorts to me, which I think is the big thing. His first bucket, it's a wide pin down. He comes up, comes middle. It's a floater. It's like, oh, okay.
That man was determined on that curl. He was getting that one up. That man came flying off, put his head down. He's going to throw that up there, and it went in.
It is. But like it's that, like you saw some of the relocation off the ball, seeing him fill in the lanes in transition. Like that all looked good. Like defensively, it was shaky to me, but like understandable. Again, he hasn't played in a game in 2 years. So like I wasn't expecting peak Klay Thompson defensively. Like he got lost on a couple of off-ball actions and stuff. But like again, it's fine. Like you're grading him on a curve for this. But you know, the early curl to get him going, the relocation, the dunk, as you mentioned, was not expecting that. Wasn't expecting the attempt, much less for it to actually go down and him to give us some emotion after that. Love aggressive Klay. My concern now is one, like how does he build on this? How long is the adjustment period going to be for him to get in conditioning and get used to making NBA rotations defensively and stuff like that? And then secondarily, I tweeted about it. Like, what are the lineups going to look like with Klay back in tow now? Because you're not just adding a rotation piece to this Warriors team that has been elite all year. You're adding a starter. So that's going to knock, again, Jordan Poole went back to the bench in this one. I just want to see how these lineup combinations are going to flow for Golden State.
Well, I think that's the interesting point you mentioned is the flow. Golden State has had a really good rotation for the majority of the season. When they've had all their guys, you can kind of see what they're trying to build on. They hit the starting lineup, then they go with Draymond and Nemanja, then they kind of flow into the bench with Curry. So how does that affect that? How does that affect Poole and or Wiggins? I think that's a good question right there as far as – actually, that's a very good question.
Yeah, let's get it in there. Shout out to Commander 3035 who asked, Draymond joked about a Curry, Poole, Wiggins, Klay, Draymond lineup. Do you guys think Klay can survive against force to make that lineup viable?
Well, here's the question, though. That might kind of help Klay as he plays through it, to not have to have that kind of pressure. You can have Wiggins and Poole and Draymond obviously do a lot, and that's a tough lineup to guard on the other end. Opens a whole lot of things up. You have multiple guys who can handle, multiple guys who can shoot. The Warriors have another small lineup they can throw out there, huh?
Yeah, that's what the Warriors need. Another weapon to help them play small. They were just missing that. So Klay really helped solve the issue. But no, like I think that would be huge for Golden State, honestly. I think if you're just talking about the reacclimation period for Klay Thompson defensively, like even in the debut, like he didn't get the Darius Garland assignment. Like he was on Chetty Osman. He was he was on weaker offensive players. And even with Klay at his peak, like he was a strong dude. Like he could handle a multitude of forward assignments. And so to make things easier for him, like I wouldn't be surprised at all if they throw him at the 4. Like I think that helps and can simplify some things for him, at least early on. And if you can hold serve there, as you mentioned, gives another option. Like on the night that Andre Iguodala doesn't have the jumper going and you want to close small still, like Klay being an option is a pretty solid consolation prize. Not only is that's an upgrade, but you get the gist like that. I want to see Steve Kerr lean into that at some point, or at least test it out. Let's see what that looks like.
No, I like it. All
right, let's get into some not so fun news. Klay made his return, and now we're not sure when Damian Lillard is going to be back in Portland. There's been some talk, some rumblings of him maybe being shut down with the abdominal injury that he's dealing with. One, do you think that is something that Portland should do? And two, what do you think that means for Dame long-term in Portland?
Well, Dame being out for the whole 6-game road trip is very interesting. He's been out for a minute, and he was out, came back, then went out again. So if you're Portland, you're kind of starting to flirt with a lost season of sorts, with Dame not necessarily being able to stay healthy, be in the lineup. CJ had his injury, unfortunately. Now you're looking at a situation where you haven't necessarily taken the steps you wanted to. And now with where you're at, which is outside of the play-in, I think they're tied with San Antonio coming into tonight. It becomes, what are we pushing for? Because you have a core group that's supposed to do X, Y, and Z, but the results have dictated something different. So now is it the same rush to put Dame back out there? Is it the same rush to put CJ out there? But at the same time, you kind of need to know what the next step should be. So do you have all the answers with Dame, CJ, and Norman Powell? Some can make their jokes, but do you know? What do we get Nurkic? Like, how do we deal him and Covington? But what do we need? So that's kind of like the weird spot I feel like Portland's in. As far as affecting Dame's long-term future, I guess you could raise a question about extension talks if banged up. But at the same time, it's pretty clear he's not going anywhere if he has to say in it. So
I would be a little bit concerned for Portland because Dave said that he's been dealing with this particular injury for the last 3.5-4 years. And so I don't know a ton about it. So like, I don't want to speculate on that front, but like if surgery would fix that, considering where Portland is in the standings stuff, like it probably makes more sense to take the plunge now. Like, let's just make this the gap year Let's make sure Dame is right because he does want to be here and he is going to be up for an extension. If that's something that we're going to do, you want to make sure you're getting the absolute best out of Dame for the next 2-3 years. If it's something that's just going to be a pain management thing for him, or if it's just, hey, it just kind of has to be rest and pain tolerance, that's where it gets a little bit more iffy for me. Because Dame is going to be hitting, he's going to be hitting his mid-30s soon. And Portland's ceiling, or just this entire run with Dame and CJ, it's been one Western Conference Finals appearance. And so you look at that, you look at where the roster is right now, you look at the rest of the West. Not sure Golden State's going anywhere. Not sure Phoenix is going anywhere. Not sure Utah's going anywhere. Like Denver is going to get a version of healthy, if not this year, then next year for sure. And I don't think they're going anywhere. It's fair to question, like, okay, where does Portland fit into this? And so if they are concerned about the health long term, and they're also concerned about the long-term outlook compared to everyone else in the West, I think you kind of have to wonder, all right, what does splitting this up look like?
Well, I mean, that's obviously a route they can go on. I think the thing is, if you allow the room for Simons and Little to play well, as they have, that's fantastic. The issue is this isn't necessarily the youngest roster. Mm-hmm. So even if you do sit Dame and say you do trade CJ or however you want to go about it, who's soaking those minutes up? You know, who are you really looking to bump up outside of Simons and Little for the long-term future? And that's where I feel like Portland's kind of stuck in a way where we kind of have to compete because of what we have, but I don't necessarily know what our ceiling is. This season seems kind of lost. Long-term, we need to make a shift, but what is that shift? What kind of personnel is going to pop, because we don't necessarily know who we're building around. So it kind of gets tricky there for me, and they've got some questions to answer. But Simon's Little have been game this year. It's been fun to watch them grow, and it's not like anyone called the Anthony Simons year.
I see. Yeah, you may have said that he could do some things. Have to go back into the archive and confirm, but you may have said such a thing or two. But
it's no little prediction.
And there's the first one of the anniversary pod. Very cool. Got to take your layups. I respect it. Miles asked, could a tanking season help the Blazers' long-term outlook? Like, if they nail the pick, sure. Like, it depends on where the pick lands. In terms of what they need, I mean, they just need a bunch of help defensively. Like, that's really where it has to kind of start. Especially if you're going to keep Dame and CJ together. If this is going to be all right, let's shut down Dame. Let's get a young prospect in here. Let's see if we can make some moves on the margins, part 7, and do that. Then you have to address the defensive side. Then that's just going to depend on where they land. Like, what does Chet Holmgren look like in Portland?
Yeah. I think the most important thing is getting Dame right. So this isn't the season to have him gut it out.
That's a good shot. Got a comment on the board. They need to draft Chauncey's ideal version of Robert Covington. I'm still a little bit flummoxed by that whole presser. That entire paragraph, like, every team has a guy. They have a Mikal Bridges, Robert Covington. We need Rocco to be that guy. It's like he has never. Peak Rocco was not that guy.
Well, he wasn't that guy and ended up on the bench. So,
yeah, like that's just not his. Like, he has to play better, but also, like, you kind of are who you are as a defender. Like, you can't just make someone be the stopper because you don't have enough. Like, you're asking for that not to go well. But that's fine. That's where. While we're talking a bit about big men, if I could bring up a trade that happened over the weekend, Rodney Magruder and a 2nd round pick to the Denver Nuggets for Bol Bol. Why are you already rubbing your forehead? What did I do?
This is some bologna.
Boo. Boo. I am intrigued, which is on brand for me. This is. I hope you're proud of yourself. You're getting some laughter in the chat, so good for hashtag good for you. No, we got Dom. Oh, we got a celebrity in the chat. Dom 2K is in here. Oh my, we've really hit it big time for the 1 year anniversary. This is great. Okay, maybe not. He's encouraging Steve to do more puns, but shout out to my guy Dom doing big things with the NBA. It's pretty cool. The NBA, G League, you're all over the place. Anyway, I've been intrigued by the Bobo trade. I think that's objectively about as high as I can get on it because he certainly has some things to work on, like the defensive side of the ball. That would be a start. Setting any sort of screen, that would also be a start. But also, I'd rather watch him on the court than Trey Lyles. So I think that's just kind of where I'm at with that.
Trey Lyles slander?
It's not Trey Lyles slander, but like I'm just kind of tired of watching him pass up shots.
Let me check his age real quick.
He can't be 30. I mean, I guess he could be 30, but I don't think he's 30 plus. I don't think this is going to track. He's going to be like 28 or something.
26. This does not track.
See, there you go. It's just like if he would just lean into shooting, because that's kind of like the one thing he does, then cool. A serviceable backup big man, a nice change of pace big man, but like it's too many record scratches for me.
Am I old and musty for being more excited about Rodney McGruder playing defense for Denver?
I wouldn't say old and musty, but this tracks.
Because that's the first thing my mind went to. That's a good fit for Rodney McGruder, who I feel like has just been looking for a home ever since Miami.
He's going to have some immediate chemistry with Nikola Jokic. He's always been good at cutting in a serious sense. As someone that watched Rodney McGruder come up the ranks in Miami, like he's going to be good at that. What I will say is he's solid defensively. He's also not a wing, so like that still doesn't solve Denver's issue. They're still asking a bunch of like, well, I guess Campazzo's in there getting more minutes now. So a bunch of 5'11" to 6'4" people to handle those tougher wing assignments, and it's just not fair to anyone involved. But Bermuda should be pretty solid.
I would just like to see Bobo play extended minutes. So hopefully he gets those minutes at the 5. It'll be interesting because Detroit kind of found something with Sadiq Bey at the 4. So, but that's a good runway. That's good young talent for a team that's trying to find as many young pieces as they can to go forward with. And I think Cade Bobo 2-man game should be fun.
I hope so. Like, I'm also just kind of scared the team's just going to switch it. Like, all right, cool. And the ball just is going to pass. I don't know. Like, I'm torn between, like, talking about what he actually does and also just liking him a bunch and wanting him to succeed. It's an odd dynamic for me. I do want to see him get an extended run in all seriousness. Like, I do think he's a ridiculous shooter for his size. He's a ridiculous shooter, period. But he's a ridiculous shooter for his size. Detroit desperately needs some floor spacers. So, like, if he's going to get a run, like, this is the spot for him to do so. I just worry about everything else, which is also why he wasn't playing that much in Denver. And we have another Detroit question. This comes from Nicolo. Do y'all think Beef Stew is an NBA starter or a backup big? How have you felt about Isaiah Stewart this year?
It's been too uneven of a season for me. And I feel like a lot of the things that brought him to the table and got him this opportunity to start kind of have gone away. I feel like the energy hasn't been the same. The roles haven't been the same. The impact hasn't been the same. So for me, he's leaning more towards backup big, give you a few solid minutes, do his job well, give you some energy, and then you hand it back off to the starter. But, I mean, that's what this runway is for, to give those young guys these type of minutes to see exactly what you have, what you need going forward. I expected a little bit more after the growth he had last year.
I'm with you. Like, this isn't the only thing, but, like, it's odd that he just doesn't shoot now.
After developing it last year.
Yeah, like, I don't understand why that went backwards. Because I think heading into like the season or heading into his rookie year, like the energy stuff was already known with him. Like you knew he was going to be a monster on both glasses. You knew he was going to set screens. Like you knew he was a solid finisher. Kind of worried about what the vertical pot would be, but like he would get downhill for you. The question was, okay, what else? Where is the expansion coming from? And so he plays well in the first half of his rookie season in Detroit, and then the second half he's taking above the break threes in rhythm. He's taking mid-range jumpers in rhythm. It's like, okay, if he can do the energy interior stuff, be a little bit better defensively than at least I expected, and then also shoot some, like, okay, we have something to work with here. And then it just didn't transfer over. Like he just, I would be not necessarily okay, but like I would understand if it's okay, this is a 2.5 3-point attempt season for Isaiah Stewart. He just isn't shooting as well as he did in the second half. And it's like, okay, he's trying, he's doing it in a rhythm. It's not a thing yet. Now we can scale this down a little bit. It just got completely cut out of the diet.
Well, not just that, the other things he did well aren't hitting the same. Like I haven't watched him screen and felt the same way I did as I did last year. So the player we saw was a really intriguing mix talent-wise. And now this year it's kind of like, where is it? He's making me Isaiah Blewett.
Oh, brother. Okay, that's we can segue from here. We are at the midway point of the season for a few teams. Again, like COVID postponements and stuff have thrown some of the things off, but there are quite a few teams that have hit the 41 game mark at this point. We got some comments in the chat. That was a 5 out of 10. That might be a clank. See, I'm glad I'm not alone here. Thank you, Dunkers. Oh, Steve's having one of those. Man,
there's 4 quarters. It's a long pod. It's
okay.
1 year anniversary. You gotta shoot.
You know what? Fair enough. Well, anyway, we're at the midway adjacent point of the season. Steve, who are some teams that have caught your eye as of late? What are you looking at for some of the top teams in the league?
The Memphis Grizzlies have won 19 of the last 23 games, buddy.
Rolling. Jaws won back-to-back Player of the Week awards. It's looking good. Looking pretty darn good.
Currently 4 seed, knocking on the door for 3. I mean, you know, you never know. You never know. Memphis. Ooh, I like what they've done. Miami, I like the surge they're on right now. Mm-hmm. I wish they could blend what they're doing now with what they started to do at the start of the season, but I feel like they're 2 different teams, and I don't know if they can mix it up. So, like, it's a weird dynamic because they sliced Phoenix up over the weekend. I mean, the cutting, the movement, the shot creation, the shot making, franchise record, first half made threes. It was insane. But there were moments at the start of that game where you're like, okay, the ball movement's back for Miami. This is great. The player movement's back for Miami. This is great. Fighting the shot clock is back for Miami. I see why they did what they did at the start of the season, where we're going to dictate terms. We're going to ISO mismatch, post up, get what we want, and play out of that. So can they find a way to kind of mix those things up? Can they merge it together? Can you get the movement that is creating these looks while also still having the ability to ISO and mismatch? I just don't know. I don't know about that part, but Miami's been good. And then Dallas, ...
We keep coming back to Dallas.
5 seed, won 6 straight. Huh.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Like, we probably soon, we just need to get like an actual Mavericks person on the pod so we can really dig in. Because I feel like, I know I'm personally responsible for bringing up Dallas like 2 or 3 times. Like, I don't know what I'm watching. Record's good, point differential's bad. Offense look weird, defense is good. The defense is 5th. Heading into the night's action, the Mavericks were 5th in defensive rating. And you look at that roster and it's like, there is no way on earth this is going to be a top 5 defense.
Sean Sweeney, how do you do?
Hashtag fair enough. I just don't know what to do with Dallas right now. And now Luka's back. Jalen Brunson's been balling. Like, they're an interesting mix that I want to dig deeper into. because I'm still a little bit confused. To the Miami point, I feel like it's such a, I guess, a cliche answer, but like I feel like the solution to finding that blend offensively, like they just have to get into their stuff earlier. And like Kyle Lowry has been big for Miami getting into their actions early, off of misses or even after makes, he'll just push the ball ahead and stuff. Like I think that's really going to be the low-hanging fruit answer for them once they do get Jimmy Butler back full time, if that's possible. And when they get Bam Adebayo back, it's just going to be after the inbound pushing it, starting their stuff with 20 or 19 on the clock. And so then they can get into their post split. If the cuts work, cool. If it don't, then they can flow into a handoff. And if that doesn't work, then it's an ISO or a post up.
Yeah, just give me a little bit more movement, a little more tempo, a little more pace, a little more flow. Also, Kyle Lowry is just a genius.
Yes.
Like this man against Phoenix ran a pick and roll without a screener. Like he brought it up in transition. McGee was just trailing.
Yes.
And he acted like he ran his man into McGee like it was an actual screen. Like the stuff he does is next level. Love watching.
And JaVale just left the play. I'm just like, brother, he's there. Just stay there. What? But anyway, yeah, Kyle Lowry's been insane. Like, I'm not gonna drive the Kyle Lowry All-Star train because there are just too many guards.
You run out of trains. You can't drive the Kyle Lowry train. You've already driven the Darius Garland train and the Fred VanVleet train. One of those seems stronger than the other right now. You probably should have flipped the articles on those. But no, you cannot also drive the Kyle Lowry train or the Drew Holiday train or the LaMelo Ball train. If I see any of those articles appear on basketballnews.com, I'm sending a very vicious email, sternly worded, all caps.
This seems a little bit aggressive. Like we already talked about Drew on the All-Star episode that we did. I did have him as one of like my last cuts, and he's been pretty darn good. Darius Garland did not look very good against Golden State, which it's Golden State. They're really good. But like it has been a little bit up and down with Darius Garland as of late. Fred VanVleet has taken that, period. Well, I came into that debate like Fred VanVleet's been better than Garland. And Fred had just completely lost his mind. What are we looking at now? Like 6 30-point games in his last 7 or something egregious like that. Like he is on another level right now. That's done. Fred VanVleet's an all-star, period. This is an interesting question since we're on Miami. And I've seen this a lot in Heat Twitter. Is Max Strus just better than Duncan Robinson?
No. He's not. I wanted to talk about Duncan Robinson later, but let's do it now.
Okay.
I like Duncan Robinson coming off the bench. And if Miami tripped into it this way, good for them. Because he looked like a different person against Phoenix. This man came off the bench in the first 2 minutes. He made a 3, had a deflection, took a charge. And now if he comes off the bench, let's just say Martin keeps starting. Now you can open up that second unit and kind of hand it to Duncan. Have him play 2-man game with Tyler Hero and let those two operate. Let Duncan space. Run those actions that maybe sometimes seem mindless with the second unit. Let him be for Duncan. He's going to attach. The defenses are going to pay attention, especially if it's bench units he's going against. And now you can always blend him back in with the starters if he has it going. So I like that fit if that's something they go to. Now, I don't know if this was temporary, just for now type deal, or if this is just something they want to move towards going forward. But if they get healthy and now you got Duncan coming off the bench, you got some nice waves you can kind of throw at teams and especially kind of help with that blend we're talking about.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Like, I feel like my view on this is a little bit colored just because the pendulum just swung way too far at the beginning of the season when Duncan Robinson couldn't knock down shots. And it just felt like this is very anecdotal for me. This is just my timeline. So I'm not going to say it's, the official view of the Miami Heat fan base as a whole. But from what I saw, it was very much a whole bunch of buyer's remorse through the first month of the season after the big contract. And it's just like, guys, friends, pals. Like, I think we all know he can shoot. We also know, like, the defense, the playmaking stuff, like, those are all lesser parts of his game compared to the shooting. He's going to knock down shots. It's going to look like what it's looked like. And so now you combine that start and the contract and the frustration with that, with Max Strus basically being found the money and then turning it up a notch since he's been back. It just feels like people were already kind of primed to be like, okay, Max Strus is the guy. Duncan's overrated. He's overpaid. Trade him when you can. And like based on, Miami's like salary sheet, stuff like that, like would it surprise me if Duncan Robinson ends up getting traded this year if something pops up or over the offseason, something like that? Like, no, it would be a surprise. But it also isn't because Duncan Robinson is some kind of fraud or something like that. He's still good at basketball. He's been shooting 40% from three over this last stretch of games for him. Like, he's back to doing that. If Strus is this guy, then congrats, you have another good player on your roster. It doesn't have to be Strus is good, so therefore Duncan Robinson needed anymore. As you mentioned, and we saw it in the Phoenix game, like Duncan Robinson screening for Tyler Hero, like that's some good stuff for a second unit. As good as Tyler Hero's been off the bench for Miami, as good as he's been, period, but as good as he's been off the bench, like you would like for him to have someone that can alleviate some of the pressure that he sees. He lives on one of the toughest shot diets in the league. If you can get a movement shooter like Duncan Robinson to screen for him and give him some cleaner looks, that helps everyone. And so it doesn't have to be a choice. And I'm glad we got this comment up. The idea of a Depot Duncan backcourt gets me feeling a certain type of way. Like, I think that's going to be the question. Like, whenever Victor Oladipo comes back, and we've seen some workout videos surface on the timeline, like the rotation is going to get a little bit interesting once everyone gets back. That's going to be a crowded room. But that's a bridge you cross later. You don't have to do that now.
It's going to be a deep room. They've gotten a lot of contributions from different guys, so it's going to be some good depth, and now they've got some ability to hurt you. If the bench was a question mark, it may end up being a strength down the line, which is a good thing for Miami. Also, yes, calling him Duncan robbing son is too much.
Then why did you do it?
1 year.
You know what? Fair enough. One thing I will say on the Duncan front, the Duncan trade front, again, like if Miami decides to do that, it's going to be because they want an upgrade. They want to fill a different need, not because they regret paying Duncan Robinson. Again, like, we know he can shoot, and he's shooting well now, so that shouldn't be the thing. I wonder if they kick the tires on Jeremy Grant, if they can get another forward-ish guy in the room. Like, I think if they're going to trade Duncan Robinson this season, like that's going to be the type of player that they're looking for. Like, obviously, I don't think he gets you in the room for like a Bradley Beal. I don't know if he's not available anyway, but I don't think he's your star piece. But a tier or two below that, you don't think Detroit could use some movement shooting? Someone that doesn't need the ball like Jeremy Grant does. Like, Jeremy Grant's been out, Sadiq Bey immediately took off. Cade got more touches. Cade's getting more comfortable. You sandwich Duncan Robinson in between those two guys, like, I think that makes life a little bit easier. They would take Duncan Robinson plus stuff, but in general, like, I think that's something that Miami would probably kick the tires on if they could.
Detroit is a plate that needs a lot of seasoning on it.
Yes.
We'll put it that way.
There you go. And this is from Miles. How legit do you guys think Miami is? Feel like they are being slept on as a title team?
Oh, no, they're very legit. They're in that mix. That top four in the East is going to be tough. So it'll be interesting to see who does it. Spo should get Coach of the Year. Love probably will not, as we said before. It's a crowded year, but he's coaching his tail off, man.
That he is. Oh, Provolone brought this up. Cade did drop 29 tonight. I have not watched this game yet, but Detroit beat Utah.
They sure did.
That's pretty interesting.
I have takes, but we'll save it.
Okay. I do not have takes because I have not watched that game yet, but that's an interesting thing to see on the box score.
Actually, you know what? Let's go to it now.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's talk about Utah.
All right.
So you have not watched the film yet. Utah went small in the fourth quarter and got beat up.
Uh-oh.
Beat up. Like, Detroit literally just decided to run pick and roll and try and put their head down and get in the paint. And so I now have questions about Utah's small lineup.
Mhm.
Some big time questions about Utah's small lineup, because one of the big things we talked about coming into the season about their offseason was they gave themselves more options. They gave themselves more versatility. They have the ability to go small in the playoffs if it's not working with Rudy or if he's getting space or however you want to shake it, because I don't want to have that conversation tonight. Hey, they have the ability to try. They can do other things. And so when they go small, defensively, the idea is, hey, let's switch everything. Sounds great. Keep everything in front. We're all good. You know what the problem is for Utah?
Can't contain the ball.
No, even when they have Rudy Gobert, they have problems keeping the ball in front. So now you've opened up the solution where teams can just beat you off the dribble and there's no rim protector back there. That's not great. And then offensively, here's another issue. Ready for this one? What do you run? What do you run when you're small? This is the concept that always gets forgotten when we talk about small lineups. Sometimes you don't have the personnel to run what you want to run or it makes you good. So your small lineup doesn't have the same juice. If Portland goes small tonight, does it work? Probably not as well as if they had some of the other personnel, but it's not the same. For Utah, as good as their offense is, as good as their shooters are, as good as their guards are as far as being able to drive and kick, and now they can drive and kick again, they don't necessarily have a starting point without a big. They don't necessarily have a pressure point. So you lose some of your offense. Defensively, it's not having the same impact. It's a good time to be a Rudy Gobert truther. It's a good time. I mean, think about this, Nikias. The Pistons, Utah took Hassan Whiteside out in this Detroit game. They decided to go small. And that small lineup got beat so bad, they immediately went back to Hassan, who immediately gave up a three-pointer because he's Hassan Whiteside.
That's kind of tough.
So, I mean, it's. I don't want to make this a complete Rudy Gobert importance talk, but it's clear at some point to reach the top of the mountain, they either have to have a small lineup or Rudy has to be able to just wipe away other teams' small lineups somehow. One of those two things has to happen for them to take that next step. I'm a little concerned that the options may not work out, and then you end up with the same playoff discussion we have every single year. So there's my Utah take.
Okay. Pretty firm stuff. Like, I guess my question is, like, how does Utah, like, what is the pathway from them proving the small lineup at this point? Because I think obviously you zoom out, the answer is okay, trade for someone. But also, like, their trade chips are who exactly?
I mean, Rudy Gay has done a good job when he's the 5 in the small lineup. But again, a whole lot of this does not matter if their guards cannot just keep the ball in front.
Yeah.
Like, even just be solid. Like, even if you're giving up pull-up jumpers, keep it in front, contest, and live with the results, as opposed to you get beat off the dribble or you overhelp and now it's opening too many things up. So it's just it's a tough deal, because now when you criticize Rudy Gobert for the overhelps in the playoffs when other teams are small, you kind of understand it. So they've got to find a way to get to a stronger base defensively. If you look at the personnel of the Utah Jazz and the Chicago Bulls, who would you say is better or more equipped to defend consistently?
Just up and out a lot. Like, probably Chicago.
Even with DeMar and Zach LaVine?
Yeah, I mean, they at the very least have guys at the top. Like, you have Lonzo and you have...
I knew you were going to go Lonzo and Caruso, which ruined a bit.
I'm sorry, like, if you line them up, like, obviously Rudy is the best defensive player between the two teams rather easily. But then after that...
The point was, Chicago has a team that shows early help and recovers and stays solid. Utah cannot grasp this concept to save their life. This guy wants to Lonzo and Caruso me to death.
Which I am sorry. There's film of what they did, but no, I just didn't. I thought I had a good answer. I guess I didn't. I'm sorry for ruining the bit. Sheesh. Yeah, you think you know a guy, and then you just get slandered. It's kind of tough.
Speaking of slander, you want to talk about Boston?
Uh we can't talk about Boston. Before we get into Boston, because I know you have takes on that, I just want to give a quick shout out to the Philadelphia 76ers, who have won 6 straight games. Joel Embiid is a freaking monster. And we knew this already, but he's been better at just about everything this year. He is grabbing and going. He's still bullying people on the block and get to the free throw line. He's still getting into turnaround jumpers, pull-up jumpers. Jesus Christ, I watched the Sixers play the Spurs on Friday night. And like, this is a Joel point, but also like Joel and Seth Curry with an empty corner is just death. There's just nothing you could do with that. And there was certainly nothing that San Antonio could do with it. And bless their hearts, they were missing some people, but like, there was just nothing. Like, they go Seth Embiid empty corner. It's a pull-up fetch for Seth. Big plays a little bit higher. It's a dump off to Joel Embiid, who could just post up with the empty corner. Like, you just can't send the double fast enough if you're San Antonio. So it's just a one-on-one. And like, Joel is posting up. He's going into like kind of like a jump stop into a pull-up. I'm just like, this is not what 7-footers are supposed to be able to do. Like, it's actually ridiculous. And then the passing has gotten better. I'm not going to slander Bleacher Report again for the clip of the pass that Joel Embiid made it. They called a no-look, in which Joel Embiid was literally staring at his teammate. But
why would you slander such a great clip of a no-look pass?
It should have been a no-look clip. But anyway, the passing has been much better this season for Joel Embiid. And like, that's kind of yeah, like, it's weird. Like, I did go viral. That just absurd. But anyway, the passing has gotten much better. And like, that's been the real weakness for Joel. It's okay. Double team comes. He's just kind of handling the pressure poorly, or he's slinging the ball. The placement's bad. Even if he does hit the open man, it's at his feet. It's above his head. Guys can recover out. The open shot's not there anymore. He's been very good at passing the ball. Like, there are parts of Joel Embiid's game that are weaker than others. I do not think Joel Embiid has a weakness offensively anymore. I think that's where we're at with him. He's that good.
No, he's been incredible. If you tune into the Sixers on a nightly basis, he's just doing things, as you said, that a man that size should not be doing on a nightly basis. And it's been a heck of a run. And for the Sixers to be where they are right now, that's a credit to them as a unit. And I'm gonna give a salute to Doc Rivers. Is this your apology to Doc, or are we saving that for year 2 of the dunker spot?
I will say the Sixers were looking good when they had someone else on the sideline, because go shout out to Doc. Yeah, let's go with that. Yeah, we're gonna be nice on the anniversary episode. It's fine. Is that cool? We good?
Nah, I mean, that was all right, man. It was like when your tweet went viral, and then 28 hours later you said, "Yo, I got a pod."
Because like, I don't know. Like, I feel like some people say it as like a fake humble thing, but like, I legitimately did not expect that tweet to do what it did. If I had any inkling that it was actually going to blow up like that would have been the first thing I did.
No, that's fine. Hey, I'm ready to go over the top rope whenever you are, man.
Don't do this. I did plug the pod. Like, that's the important part. But it just got to be like that, man. I don't know. Are you ready to get off your Celtics take?
Are you ready?
I'm ready. Yes, because you gave me a preview before the pod, and it's like, yeah, Steve is ready to talk about. Steve's ready to talk about Boston. I saw a thread. I was like, yeah, he's got takes. He's ready. So backdrop for Boston. I'm not sure if the Dunkers have heard, but the Celtics have been a bit of an inconsistent bunch this season. We've seen some interesting stretches from their star wings for different reasons. Ime Udoka, the new head coach of the Celtics, he has had less than fun sometimes coaching this group. He has said some less than nice things about the way that his players execute, or lack thereof, throughout the season. And so that leads us into, well, the Celtics beat the Pacers tonight. But our good friend Steve Jones Jr. has some takes about the Celtics and their issues and where blame should be assigned. I will concede the floor to you, good sir.
Conceding the floor. All right. So all this started because I just have not been a huge fan of where the Ime Udoka discourse has landed or is going this early in his coaching career. And we could probably tackle that a different day. But this is an interesting team that I don't necessarily understand. But I do want to attack it from a different perspective because I had a discussion with some Celtics fans trying to figure some things out. And they said, oh, the schemes aren't great. Play more shooters. We need to do this, all this good stuff. Let's chat about it, guys. There are some unique challenges with this Boston Celtics team. For one, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, two very, very, very good players. But the difficulty is using them to the best of their abilities. So when your two best players can create their own offense to that degree, that's fantastic. That's great. But when they can do that outside of the scheme, how do you draw things up? How do you open things up for them? And that's been my question with those two over the last 2-3 years. They have improved. They have grown. How much have we seen that transfer to other teams being concerned about them? Our defense is changing how they guard them. And is the roster in a position to take advantage of that? It's part of the progression within a young star. Look at Donovan Mitchell. Look at Devin Booker. Look at Zach LaVine. They all improved, right? And they all got to the point where teams had to do what?
Had to send two.
They had to send two. They had to change their coverage. We got to take this guy away. How often have we seen that with these two?
Like you see it some with Tatum when he gets it rolling, but like you don't see super aggressive in my watching anyway. Like you don't see super aggressive sending two. Like you get the extra, you got that takes the extra step inside, you know, the dig and the nail or something like that. But you're not getting a full blown trap like you see with some of the other guys.
Yeah, you're not getting the things that allow you to use their talents to open things up for the rest of your team. And that's part of the issue. And it's not necessarily anyone's fault. It's just part of the unique challenge of coaching this team. So one of the things I've liked that Boston's done of late is emphasizing the second side of the floor. Hey, we're going to run an action. We're going to swing it to the other side. We're going to move and make the defense move. And it just increases their chance to have a flow. Use Tatum on one side, made the defense react, swing it to Brown, let him do something. They've had great handoff actions where Tatum comes off, the nail helps, it's a kick to Brown or vice versa, and now he can attack. But that's the way you kind of have to use them together. But now we talk about scheme, we talk about stars, but what about the roster? Because you could scheme these things up, but if defenses start to sit on it and now you have an open Al Horford jumper and he misses it, what do you have? You have an open Schroeder or Smart jumper because they are staying home with the stars. What do you have?
Mm-hmm.
So you have a situation where even when these teams start to lock in on them, you're not making them pay. And so Boston's caught in this weird dynamic of trying to figure out who they are, what stuff to run, and dealing with the roster they have. That's really tough as a coach. That's really tough as a coach to try and know, well, wait, he's trying to figure himself out, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to figure this roster out. He's trying to figure out what fits them. Look at Spo, for example. And I'm going off the rails, but let's chat.
Oh, you good.
Spo is one of the best coaches at getting the most out of his team, but also identifying what's going to work for his team. There's no way you should have some of the lineups he had out there on Saturday slicing Phoenix up, but guess what they did? Because they all just did what they're supposed to do. Look at Kyle Guy. This guy is just cutting and slipping and opening things up for people, but they know that. That's what he does. That fits our team. That helps us. The roster for me, for Boston, just does not fit. It doesn't equate. Because in theory, you're saying, hey, we should never play Marcus Smart and Dennis Schroeder together, right? And I get that. That's a fair point. But you have a roster where you kind of have to play those guys. You can't not play Marcus Smart. You can't not play Dennis Schroeder. You can't not play Al Horford. And they're probably going to end up playing together. So now you're in a situation where you're hoping, okay, maybe Marcus Smart or Dennis Schroeder can get in the paint and make a play, make the defense help them. They become a threat. We kick it out. Now Brown and Tatum can go to work, or we get an open shot. Problem is, doesn't happen too often. And part of my issue with Boston right now is they are such an idea versus reality team right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a tough spot to be in as a coach. So you can look at any team in the league right now. A lot of what they're doing right now, it's different than what they tried to do at the start of the season, for the most part. Because you have these ideas of what you want your team to be, and then the reality hits you, and you say, oh, not sure about that. We'll use Portland as an example. Their defense, what they wanted to do at the start of the season versus what they're doing right now, two very different things.
Yes, it is.
Now, it's not the best example because the reality has gotten worse than the idea was, but my point is being made. You know where my disappointment is with Boston right now? These guys are not playing outside of the play. So it's 2022. This is not the era of bring it up, call a set every time down. We can all agree there, right?
Yeah.
So as a coach these days, you can't call a set every time down. Even Tibbs can't do it. Even Rick Carlisle can't do it. It's just not a thing anymore. So you have to give your teams the freedom and trust that they can get the flow, get what you want conceptually, just playing basketball. And more times than not, whenever Boston does that, you know what happens?
ISO.
Bad stuff happens. You have a situation where Josh Richardson shooting 40% from three on the season, right? 2 thumbs up. That's fantastic. Correct? And no disrespect to Josh Richardson, but Josh Richardson is spaced in the corner as Jaylen Brown comes off a dribble handoff. He has one job. That's a good shot, Commander. Don't the Celtics already have the freedom? That's well done.
That's good. That's good stuff.
Josh Richardson has one job: space the floor, knock down shots, beat closeouts. This man went from the corner in the strong side and decided to set a flare for Dennis Schroeder, which, why? Also bringing his man into the action, into the way of the dribble handoff. That's not scheme. That's not the design. That's not coaching. That's just a mistake. There's too many times where they bring it up, they run one pick and roll, it doesn't work, and they stare at each other. Move the ball. Move your bodies. Get some pace. Get some tempo. Get some flow. Play that way to enhance your half-court offense. But if you're struggling in the half-court, you're struggling in the secondary transition looks, what do you have going? You know? I've been disappointed there. Even tonight against Indiana, Dennis Schroeder gets the ball in transition, matched up with Domantas Sabonis. This is a good thing for us. We have our speedy paint touch point guard against Domantas Sabonis on the perimeter. He tries to attack, doesn't get it, swings it back to Tatum, who gives it right back to Dennis Schroeder, who takes a pull-up three. That's not coaching. That's not on the coach. You got to go out there and play. Go make some plays. And then I'm going to make another point here. So I made the point about Brown and Tatum, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of what I heard from Celtics fans was, hey, we need to play more shooters. We need to space the floor. Let's play more shooters. Here's the question, right? Like, it's easy to point to Grant Williams and Josh Richardson. They both shoot over 40%. That's fantastic. Does it change how defenses guard them? Are defenses treating them like reputation knockdown shooters that we have to stay and defend?
No.
And that's a problem. That's a problem. I watched the Knicks game when they played the Celtics. End of the first quarter, they doubled Jason Tatum. Do you know who they came off of?
Who they come off of?
40% shooting Grant Williams. That's one of your better shooters. And they doubled off him. And guess what? He got the pass. You know what he did, Nikias?
I'm going to guess he did not take the open shot.
Swung the ball to Dennis Schroeder. It's not coaching. They got to play. This guy's got to play. So you have a roster issue. It's just a weird thing, man. Like, what's their identity? What is their identity? This is where the inconsistency hurts. They're not good enough defensively to just lean into defense. They're not good enough offensively to lean into the offensive side of the floor. So you're just stuck with conceptually, hey, I think we're good at this. We show we're good at this. Then we stop doing this. Then we lose. And now I stink. It stinks. Like, what's their best lineup? I don't even know what their best lineup is at this point.
That's a good question. Like, that was the question I was going to have for you, because we talked about this a little bit before the show. My question would be like, okay, like with the lineups that have been a little bit iffy, to say the least, like what is their best five? Because they did go with Josh Richardson and Grant Williams, along with Robert Williams and the Jays. And like conceptually, cool, you have two guys in Grant and Josh Richardson that can knock down spot ups on the perimeter. Obviously, the Jays are what they are. And then Robert Williams is your vertical spacers. Like ideally, you have rim pressure, you have spacing, you have shot creation. And you don't have Dennis Schroeder playing in a phone booth. But
well, here's the other issue, though. You have to play both the Jays, right?
Mm-hmm.
You need Robert Williams for the roles, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's 3 of your 5 locked in. You have 2 spots. One of them is probably going to Marcus Smart because you need defense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So automatically, your best lineup already has 4 pieces put into it. So who's the 5th?
Yeah.
And that's where I'm like, I would like to see Boston make one move to get one wing or something to fit that lineup so they can just roll with it, as opposed to hoping Grant Williams is knocking down shots that day, or hoping Josh Richardson is knocking down shots that day, or hoping Al Horford is playing good enough defense to make whatever happens on offense make sense. That's my issue with Boston. I have finished my Boston rant.
That's some good stuff. That is some good stuff.
Give Ime a shot, man.
It's just a whole concoction of inconsistencies. And it is a weird roster. And this is a roster that I was high on coming into the year. Like, we talked about this before the year. I was like, hey, Boston has, I think they have a shot at 3 or 4. Like, Ime was my coach of the year pick heading into the year. I think, okay, like this is going to be good. Like, he's going to emphasize the movement. Like, they have some pieces that I like. The Jays are obviously really good. They can make this work. And to this point, obviously, like, some of the inconsistency and lack of continuity and stuff, like, you have to take the injury / COVID into account. Like, that's a fair thing to do. But even beyond that, like, you hit it on the head. Like, what is their identity? Like, you go into a Boston game, like, the only thing I know are that the Jays are going to take a lot of shots and they're going to switch a bunch. Don't know if the shots are going to be made. Not sure what the ball movement is going to look like before those shots are taken. I don't know how effective the switches are going to be, depending on who's doing it. But I know I'm getting shots from the Jays and I'm getting switching on defense. And so it would be nice to feel comfortable about them doing anything else. Like, just I guess just moving forward, like, what do you even look for to rectify that? Because I've seen on the timeline and stuff like, hey, Boston needs a connector offensively. Like, that would help. But like, for me, it's like, okay, they do need a connector. They need a connector that can get to the rim. You know, heading into the year, I was thinking, like, okay, Marcus Smart can be that guy. He's a smart player. He can get downhill. Like, we don't know which version of the jumper you're going to get from night to night, but you do know he will get to the rim. He can make kickouts. And, like, that's been up in the air. Sometimes you get Marcus Smart making the right read. Sometimes he's overpassing because he feels like he has to pass. He's already called out the Jays for passing this year. And sometimes it's like, all right, cool. This is going to be my 8-shot quarter. And now everyone's looking like, wait, how are we establishing flow here? I talked about this on the pod. I was excited for the Dennis Schroeder signing. I was like, you know what? Thank goodness. They have a point guard that can get a paint touch whenever he wants to. The problem, in my viewings of Boston, again, I have not watched every Celtic game, but like, the problem for that is the paint touch is all he's thinking about. he gets downhill, he's putting the ball, he's putting that up. You mentioned the clip about the possession against Sabonis. Like, the pull-up three is, you can't make up a worse decision. Like, attack Sabonis in space, get to the rim and lay it up for yourself, or collapse the defense and then get the ball swinging around the perimeter. And he just does neither of those things. Like, Dennis Schroeder is very much playing for himself, which I get it. Gave up a bunch of money, took a 1-year, $5 million deal. He's on a decent team that's underachieving. Like, he doesn't have a long-term future there. He wants to get the next paycheck and also wants to get to a better team. So, like, I get it. That doesn't help Boston build anything. So that's a problem. And then with the Jays, like, it's been weird to watch them this year. I feel like I brought up Jason Tatum on this podcast asking what's going on like 6 times already. And so I don't want to do that. He's had his stretches of superb play. Like, the last month for Jason Tatum has been very good overall. He's passing the ball well, but it also leans into, okay, he's passing it to guys who are kind of being left open on purpose. Or he's passing it to guys who aren't making decisions after he makes the pass. And so, like, honestly, off the last month or so of play from Jason Tatum, like, in theory, Jason Tatum should be averaging like 28, 7, and 7 based on how he's playing. That is not his stat line right now. And again, like, I could see like he's playing well, and then we get into the end of games, and it's, Jason, why are you taking this jumper? And then why are you taking this jumper? And then why are you taking this jumper? Why are you also taking this jumper? And then there's Jaylen Brown, who gets downhill, who's been shooting pretty well. But even then, like, I don't, and this is something that we've talked about before, like, I wonder if Jaylen should be your late game option between the two, because he seems more equipped to generate a good look late in the clock than Jason Tatum is right now. And this is with Jason Tatum playing well. And I don't like that being the solution. Ideally, if Jaylen Brown is taking over that role, it's because he has taken a superstar leap. And Jason Tatum is really good, but Jaylen Brown has been so good, you can't help but concede the floor to him. And I don't think that's been the case. Brown's been very good. He's been all-star good. But it also kind of speaks to some of the late game process with Tatum. And I don't know how much of that is him, because he's been in and out of the lineup again this year. I don't know how much of that is the circumstance to where it's like, okay, we have guys that are shooting well percentage-wise, but defenses don't respect them, so the driving lanes aren't what they need to be. Or if I do make this pass to Marcus Smart, I don't know if he's going to pump out of the shot and take contested three, or if he's going to take the shot in rhythm, or if he's going to pump and go and keep the chain moving. I don't know. So there's a whole trust dynamic that goes into that. And so when you have all those questions, you default into a bunch of ISO play. And when it's humming, it's cool. And when it doesn't, you get a bunch of blown leads. And then you get a bunch of angry post-game pressers. And then you get a bunch of very pointed comments in pregame pressers. And now we're here talking about the Celtics for like the 12th time on the dunker spot this season.
No, yeah. I mean, you touched on the fourth quarter struggles, and it's another part of the interesting dynamic because you're searching for something that works, which is never the best place to be in. But hey, most teams have to do it. You know what Brown and Tatum can do with the ball in their hands, but you don't want that to be the only part of the diet. Yeah. So you're trying to run some actions to use that pressure against teams and hope, hey, maybe if they show hard or they put 2 on the ball late in the game, we can open things up. But now the possessions count so heavily that, hey, say you do it once, you get a kick for a 3, you miss. You do it again, you miss another 3. You only have so many possessions left. So now you're trying to go to something else. Mm-hmm. I think that's part of the dynamic that gets lost a little bit when it comes to the Celtics fourth quarter collapse. Not saying that Ime's been perfect, not saying that none of these are avoidable, but that's part of the equation as well. When you're searching for what might work, you have to, go away from it at some point. You have to try something different to try and open things up. So you don't want to just be ISO ball. Like, for instance, in this Indiana game, they tried to have Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum screen for each other. I think as we've talked about on this pod, that becomes also a Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, we're going to switch, keep everything in front, and then we haven't gained an advantage. And then you move to, okay, again, like we talked about earlier, one of them screens, we swing it to the other, now they attack. So it's just kind of, they're trying to find the rhythm. It's all over the place. Quick question for you, though.
Okay.
It's in the middle of that rant. You were saying that Jaylen Brown really playing well, Jason Tatum not so much, right?
Mm-hmm.
The agenda continues. Kendrick
Wait,
Perkins, January 8th.
Come on. Oh.
It says Jaylen Brown completely took over this game with the first triple-double of his career, played a perfect game while Jason Tatum went 6 for 14 from the field. They got the win, though. Carry on, ... So the agenda continues. Hashtag big agenda.
Oh, Jesus Christ. See, you can simply praise one player without tearing down another.
That's what Tatum told Perk and also would say to you.
This absolutely hate it here. Do you feel good about that one?
Yeah,
you shouldn't.
I feel great.
Do you? Don't encourage him.
Yeah, give me my praise.
Absolutely not.
We're heating up. I told you guys it's a long game. You got to play the whole game. You start getting to a rhythm, and once you start feeling it, you just let it fly.
I don't like this at all. Not a fan. Not a fan.
Can I make a quick Nets point before we open things up and have some fun?
Yeah, that's fine. What you got?
The Nets are in a really weird place, and not just because, he's not redacted anymore because Kyrie's playing on road now. I give a salute to Steve Nash for seeing the vision of this team. Like, we talk a lot about teams and versatility and variety. I think he knows what his team is right now, and I think he knows what it needs to be down the line, which is why you have the Bembreys and Bruce Browns and David Duke Jr.'s of the world starting. He knows they have to be a defensive team to win. Like, this unit has to be a defensive team. And in this weird place of being an improved defensive team, but also needing their defense to be at a certain level to really compete and win. Mm-hmm. And it's like this weird up and down deal where it's like you never know. And now you add Kyrie into the mix. And it feels like in the games that he plays, the defense isn't as strong. Now, it's a very, very small sample. But it feels like the offense goes way up. Because he's got more transition, feel like there's more pace, they're playing. But the defense isn't quite the same. And that might be because there's more possessions. I don't have the Nikai lyrics in front of me.
I don't do this.
But you could tell the Nets have improved. They're way more active. They're better switching against sets. There's more awareness. But then they also just get beat off the dribble. So they had 19 chances to put the Spurs away yesterday and couldn't do it because San Antonio was just like, oh, we're going to drive for the next 10 minutes. And now it's a dogfight. So that's my only point. Also, quick note, Kyrie Irving is playing against the Blazers. James Harden is not. Please remember where you heard it here first, folks.
Steve did, in fact, say, about to be some PTO days for the other two stars who've been carrying the load without the other one. And now the other one's back. It was a good call on your part.
It's just what I do. It's just I need a cool tagline, like "Listen to me now." Or, I don't know. I'm not cool. Whatever.
Oh, brother. I guess while we're on the Brooklyn Stars, we can spin the block on this question. Are you concerned about James Harden?
No, I haven't been concerned about him all year. As a matter of fact, do you see the new curveball for James Harden?
What is the new curveball for James Harden?
The mid-range step back.
Going back to the very, very early portion of the Houston stint. I respect it.
Yes, dusting it back off. Let me tell you, if he's – and he still hasn't necessarily been himself, and he's still been a really, really good basketball player. But if he's going to go back to that as he improves and gets healthier and gets better, I'd just say look out. Keep an eye on it. But no, I'm not concerned about James Harden.
Okay.
Man had 4 30-point triple doubles recently. He'll be fine.
All right. Just wanted to see where you were in the Eastern Conference hierarchy before we open things up for our fans in the comment section. Where are you ranking Brooklyn right now?
They're in tier 1. Tier 1. Tier 1A.
Okay.
I still have them in Milwaukee, and then I have Chicago and Miami as tier 1B.
Okay.
Yeah, I said Chicago and Miami, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Just wanted to see where you were. Like I'm still very, but you know my feelings are on Milwaukee. Though I will say, shout out to the Charlotte Hornets. 2 straight wins over the Milwaukee Bucks. What we doing? What we doing?
Previously on the pod, we talked. I asked, "Hey, are you intrigued in a Hornets Bucks series?" And you scoffed and laughed me off the room. It was one of my free throws, but I'll ask it now. Have your thoughts and feelings changed at all about that potential series, or?
Like I'm still taking Milwaukee in that series, if that's the question. I will say
that is not the question.
What I will say is that maybe a little bit closer than I thought originally.
I want it. Sign me up for that. Please give me 5 to 6 games of Charlotte baiting Milwaukee back into their shenanigans, of Giannis playing drop and struggling to switch guard actions. Give me 5 to 6 games of Charlotte trying to fly around on defense, and when they don't, just throwing zone at Milwaukee to throw them off and bog them down. Give me 5 to 6 games of Charlotte not caring about the other end of the floor, just flying around offensively and not caring about your defensive prowess. I mean, this could lead to Drew just causing chaos, but still.
There's your answer.
Give all of that to me in an excited Charlotte crowd over Bucks Sixers. Please.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to see Bucks 6. Well, no.
I don't want to see Bucks Sixers. I don't want to see Bucks Cavs. Although I do love defense, so I probably would just nerd out on that one. I don't want to see Bucks Raptors. Give me Bucks Hornets, man.
Okay, I feel you. Like I was about to say, like I don't want to see Bucks Sixers. Like I want to see Joel Embiid and Giannis. I don't know if I want to see those 2 teams play each other. If that makes sense. Bucks Raptors is interesting to me. Again, like Milwaukee wins that series if they're healthy, I believe. But like Toronto just has a bunch of players they can just throw everywhere. Like they're another team that's been playing well as of late. Not on the 6-game winning streak that Philly's on, but like Toronto has quietly, not so quietly, put themselves in the playoff picture.
They're at number 7 right now, a half game out of 6, and they are on a 6-game win streak.
Oh, I stand corrected. Thought there was a loss mixed in there.
Let me hit refresh.
Tomorrow's coming. Hit refresh. Okay, Toronto's at 6, Philly's at 7 now.
I have a question for you before we open things up. I keep delaying it. Sorry, Dunkers. Do you know the first player in NBA history to have 2 games with 9 or more made threes before turning 23 years old?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Anthony Simons.
Another pat on the back for Steve Jones Jr.
Also, how much do you love Lance Stevenson right now?
He's been cool to watch on the court. That's about
talking about purely on court play in his return to basketball.
Well, within that context, he's been pretty wild. He just brings the
Pacers are fun again because of him. And Rick Carlisle trusting Lance Stevenson is hilarious until you remember Rick Carlisle trusted OJ Mayo. Oh,
he did trust OJ Mayo. I hope OJ's doing well. I hope OJ Mayo's doing well. I guess I have to say the full thing with but I hope OJ Mayo is doing well. There we go.
Well, I guess this is the final episode of the Dr.
It's been a good year. Jesus. Oh, let's go to the comment section. Let's see what we got here. And again, thank you all for checking in. Really appreciate all of the support. We had some good. We'll go back to the Boston bit real quick. Celtics kind of need someone like Gordon Hayward right now, huh?
That's a good shot.
Yeah, like I don't think Boston anticipated missing Gordon Hayward the way that they do. They're gonna be thinking about that. Shoot, Jason Tatum mentioned it the other day. They're gonna be thinking about that bowl season for a while.
Yeah,
because that seems like that was the shot. And it's funny to say that because that's not their first Eastern Conference Finals appearance during the J era, but that one has to hurt in light of what they look like right now, because like they need a Hayward. Could they get Joe Ingles for cheap? Like would you do that? This is just me spitballing. Would you do Josh Richardson for Joe Ingles?
Last year, yes. I don't know how much Joe has in the tank for what Boston needs.
I think great. Like I just wonder if that's like because like I do think Josh Richardson is better than him, but like if you just need someone to space the floor and make the right decisions, like I think Joe can do both of those things better than Josh Richardson.
I was not ready for Josh Richardson slander from you. That's all right.
It's not slander. I guess while we're here, we have Kyle Anderson as a suggestion in chat.
It's not bad. I'd like to see Kyle Anderson just play more, but does he have the pace?
We got our first either or of the comment section. Anthony Simons or Jordan Poole?
I'm going Poole.
Okay. I'm also going to go Poole, but that's a good question. I like this one. And we have another one in the chat. How do you guys feel about Jared Vanderbilt, and do you believe in the Wolves defense? They are benefiting from opponent shooting luck. Okay. I love Jared Vanderbilt, to answer the first question. He's been flying around all year. Steve is left. He's like, all right, more Wolves talk. I'm going to bed. I respect it. But he's been flying around all year on the back line as part of Minnesota's aggressive defensive scheme. He takes on the tough wing/forward assignments. Sometimes punches above his weight, but like he's doing his thing. Do I believe in the Wolves defense? Like I do. At this point, like we're halfway into the year. And they're still a top 10 defense. And they're pretty much a good defensive game out of fifth. And so I think the scheme fits what the personnel fits the scheme, or the scheme fits the personnel rather. We're this late into the season, like even with a little bit of shooting luck. I mean, we just saw this with the Knicks last season, where the scheme can be good, the execution be good, and you can have some shooting luck as well. I think it's fair to argue that all of that can be worked for Minnesota right now. Also would behoove me to mention that it's not just Vanderbilt, but I'm not going to turn this into the Wolves. D'Angelo Russell has actually been a positive contributor to their defense. Like that's been a pleasant surprise.
That's buy-in right there, man. So I'll give it to Vanderbilt. He is a pest, and the Wolves defense has been solid. It has been very solid. I believe in it. I got a question for you. Who do you trust more defensively, the Wolves or the Clippers? I told you I get better as the game gets later.
That's a good shot. I will go with, like, this current version of the Clippers or full strength Clippers?
Full strength Clippers.
Oh, full strength Clippers. I guess I have to go full strength Clippers. That sounds disrespectful.
Non-full strength Clippers then. No Kawhi.
No Kawhi. I mean, there's also no Paul George right now. But they're also close. But I guess without the with the Stars, it's the Clippers. Without them, I'm going with the Wolves.
All right.
Is that fair?
That's fair. As our dunkers flow, so a couple more questions here. I'm sure you're going to pull one up. I do have a question for you as we wait for those. Does anyone want the number 10 spot in the West?
I don't want this to turn into like version 17 of the What Are the Kings conversation. It would be nice if someone would take it.
No one wants it. Pop is just popping around, and they're there. Portland hasn't been able to take it. Alvin Gentry's cussing everyone out on a nightly basis.
Poor Alvin Gentry. We need Alvin Gentry on the pod. Just let off some steam, bro. We won't even release the episode. Like, just talk to us. Just like, hey.
Could someone check on this man, please?
Like that's he just needs to he just needs to release, man. Bless his soul. It would be nice if someone would take it. All right, let's get into this one from Commander again. Start bench cut: Tyus Jones, Jalen Brunson, and Cam Payne.
I see we're back to the start bench cut. I love it. Love this for me. Let's see. I will start Jalen Brunson. I will bench Cam Payne. I will cut Tyus Jones.
All right.
Don't feel
I dig it. I too am going to start Jalen Brunson, who has been really freaking good this year. I'm going to bench Tyus Jones, and I'm going to cut Cam Payne. Also don't feel good about it. Let's bring up some more. Is Obi Toppin a good return for Jeremy Grant?
No.
Yeah, I would be underwhelmed if I'm Detroit. And like that's while acknowledging that Obi Toppin has been pretty solid this year. But if you're trading Jeremy Grant, I would imagine they would want a little bit more than that.
It's a good young talent, but you should probably be getting more for Jeremy Grant would be my best guess. Ooh, a good power rank. I love it.
Oh, man, this is where I get to get my take off. All right. Power rank these handles. James Harden, Trae Young, Luka Doncic, Paul George, and Chris Paul. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to take this one?
I got you. We'll go push off P, then Luka. I'm going bottom to top.
Okay.
Then we'll go Trae, Chris Paul, James Harden.
All righty. I am also going to go Paul. Well,
the Luka slander continues. Let's go. Get it in. Folks, if you haven't been paying attention, the shift here in 2022.
Don't do this. Don't do this. We're not about to start the guys hates Luka take. Like, that's not the case at all.
I would never say that. Hate is a very strong word.
Yeah. You used the agenda. I know where this is going. I'm going to go Luka 5. I'll go Paul George 4. I will go Harden 3, Trae 2, Chris Paul 1.
All right, that seems about right. I have a power ranking for you, sir.
Okay, what we got?
Power rank these seasons from these players. I have 7 players. You ready?
Okay. You know what? Let me pull up the handy dandy notes out.
All right, let me know when you're ready.
I am good to go.
Joel Embiid.
Okay.
LeBron James.
All right. I hate this already. Cool.
Donovan Mitchell.
All righty.
Devin Booker.
Cool.
Chris Paul.
All righty. Really dislike this one.
DeMar DeRozan.
Okay. Okay. The battle for 5th is great. Let's go.
And Ja Morant.
Ja Morant. Okay. This is not the most fun question I've seen, and we're just ranking how good they've been this season.
This season.
All right.
Let it fly.
Let it fly. All right. You have really set me up on this. I don't know how I feel about this.
Look, a key to coaching is you just really, if you're going to trap, you need to set it up. Big has to be at the level.
Oh, brother.
Guard has to send his man into the screen. Then you come together. High hands. Make sure a lot of activity.
Yeah. All right. I feel like no matter what my order is, this is gonna make somebody mad. So I would just like to say that I enjoy watching all these players play basketball. I have no ill will towards any of them on the list. Nor do I have any ill will towards their fan bases or family members, anything of the sort. This is purely a basketball question. I'm going to answer it with a basketball answer. No ulterior motives. Look, man, I need to get this all out the way. I know how Twitter works. Absolutely not. Okay. Boy, do I hate this. Okay. 7, I think I'm going to go 7. I'm going to go Donovan Mitchell. We are already here. Very cool. I hate this. Okay. I'm going to go Mitchell at 7, Booker at 6, Paul at 5, Morant 4, DeRozan 3. Bron 2, Embiid 1.
The key to this trap was to see where you would put Chris Paul.
Yeah, I figured that's what you were going for.
I didn't think that John Morant would rise high enough. I wanted to make the top 2 tough enough, and then I wanted to see where Chris Paul would fall. So take you behind the curtain on that one.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. That was great. Really feel good about it.
That man sounds cut. This hilarious. Again, as our dunkers continue to flow things in, I have another question for you, Nikias.
I may have an answer.
Just flowing into free throws here. Are you worried about the Raptors' home court at all? Like, I know the reasoning behind it, global pandemic, but are you worried about that at all or no?
Not really. I mean, like if they're gonna shoot like this, I think that kind of offsets a little bit. Not super concerned. Like, I'm more concerned about the defense not being top 10 yet than I am about them not having fans. And ideally, if people take the pandemic seriously, they will have fans back in the arena within the next couple of weeks. So we will see how that goes. Luckily, test distribution is good. Vaccine rollout is good. Surely there won't be any issues there.
Speaking of issues, I got some player questions for you.
Oh, God. All right, what we got?
I'm bringing it back for the dunkers. 1 year.
I hate it here.
DeJounte Murray or LaMelo Ball?
LaMelo.
Cade Cunningham or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander?
Oh, no. That's a good one. I'm going to go Cade.
Oh, upset. Tyrese Maxey or Jalen Brunson?
Brunson.
Domantas Sabonis or Clint Capella?
Sabonis.
Jared Allen or Rudy Gobert?
Oh, man. Your Rudy Gobert hate knows no bounds. I'm going to go Gobert still.
Wendell Carter or Kyle Kuzma?
This is funky, but I like it. Might be too funky. Wait a minute. I'll go Wendell.
Jakob Poeltl or Jonas Valanciunas?
Gonna go JV.
Here's where we get fun. Ready? Tyler Hero or De'Aaron Fox?
Oh, this is devious. What the heck? I'm gonna say Fox. However, he needs to turn it around the second half of the season. We're gonna leave the offense alone for a moment. We know what the warts are there. The freaking defense from De'Aaron Fox. Aaron Fox. Brother, it is an absolute mess at the point of attack with him. Absolute disaster at the point of attack with De'Aaron Fox. And there's no reason for it. Like, we've seen what Tyrese Halliburton can do handling the ball. Like, you have an offensive load, but like it ain't one to where you can just be completely apathetic defensively. Strap up, man. Like, come on, dog.
All right. Lauri Markkanen or Al Horford?
That's a good shot. Oh goodness, Aaron Fox or each one more. But Markkanen or Horford? I'm still gonna go Horford.
Luka Garza for me over Bobo.
Like, Luka Garza is probably better than Bobo. You didn't hear me say it though.
Shouldn't be. Darius Garland or Anthony Edwards?
Garland.
Terry Rozier or D'Angelo Russell?
That's that's a good one. Let me put up a Jesus. The answer is Russell for me. Let me pull up this one from Commander, who has been killing it in the chat all stream long. Freedom or world peace?
Is the answer LeBron?
You know what? You got it. If we didn't have more rolling in, this is where we would end the pod. That's a good shot. Oh, Jesus Christ. Paul Watson Jr. or Rodney Hood?
Rodney Hood.
I will. Because Paul Watson Jr. is like, he's in the DJ Wilson Academy of I would like to see him do more. I'll go Rodney Hood by default, but Paul Watson Jr. should get a real shot. Caleb Martin or Cody Martin? Are you taking Caleb or Cody?
That's a good shot because ... The
real winners are the parents because they just phenomenal job here.
I'm gonna go with the Nakai special. Yes.
Boo. Boo. I'm gonna go Caleb. What we got here? Killian Hayes or Elfrid Payton? I hate the spirit of this question.
Elfrid.
I'm gonna go Killian. Trey or Ja?
Ooh, this is a good one. This isn't. Ooh. What you gonna do, Nikias? I got 12.
I know you do. This is a good question. Can I come back to this?
You gonna circle back to it? Nah. You gotta go with it. Come on.
Oh God. Okay, maybe I should just answer this one. Jesus, Trey or Ja? It's wild because I'm going to Atlanta this week.
Shocker.
All right. That first trip since October. So,
man. He's in the
first trip of the new year.
In the whip, play and watch the throne. Let's give it up for Atlanta's very own.
Oh, brother. All right. You got it. I'm gonna go Trey still.
Yeah, I figured you were gonna get there.
Ja's knocking on the door.
Okay.
Ja has opened the door. I just don't know if he stepped into it yet.
Okay, that's fair. I forgot where I left off on my list. Go ahead.
It's okay. All right. Start, bench, cut. Poku, Bobo, and Taco Fall.
Can I release all three?
Wow.
I was asking.
That is some peak hating. That's crazy.
I will start Bobo. I will bench Poku. I'll cut Taco. Sorry.
Wow. All right. I would start Poku, bench Bobo, and cut Taco. Shout out Koo. What's up, man? How you doing, sir? What we got here? Devin Vassell or Desmond Bane? I feel like I know what your answer is, but
Sorry, I got distracted by a plane.
Oh God. Go on, you got it.
Desmond Bain.
There it is. I have Steve's answer, just not with the same fervor that he came with it. Westbrook's prime athleticism or Ja's current athleticism?
Ooh, that's tough. That is difficult.
Good one, right?
Because Ja's current athleticism is insanity. But Russ, I'm gonna go Ja, just because I watched the block 10 times.
I feel that. I'm also going to go Ja because I feel like he controls it better. Like, I make the functional athleticism argument for Ja.
You even slandered Westbrook's control with his athleticism, huh?
I can't win. If I picked Russ, this would have added to your Ja case. I take Ja. Now you're saying I'm hating on Russ. I can't win with you.
Look, if you want to go ahead and set up your defense, ice coverage, you just keep the ball on the sideline.
Yeah, okay. Okay, let's stick with the athleticism question. Peak athleticism, who you taking, Russ, Morant, or Rose?
D Rose.
Taking Ja.
D Rose, then Ja, then Russ.
Okay. I feel that. Ant or LaMelo? I'm guessing Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards or LaMelo Ball 5 years from now?
Give me LaMelo as a complete player. I think Anthony Edwards is going to be a special scorer. But I'll take LaMelo taking a couple strides in certain areas to really unlock some things.
All right. This is intriguing to me. Because, man, like, the outline of what Ant could be. Like, he's never going to be the playmaker that LaMelo is. But also, like, if his offensive approach changes some, like, he wouldn't have to be. Because, like, he could just be at his peak. Like, he could be a 10 free throw a game guy with a pull-up. And he can just get 5 or 6 assists just based off of teams being terrified of him get to the rim. I'll also go LaMelo, but I do think this is a really good question. Did you have more on your list?
I did. Herb Jones or Lou Dort?
Like defensively or overall?
Yes.
Okay. Is it a hot take to say Herb?
I figured you would.
What is that? What does that mean?
What? I thought you would. Youth. Mikal Bridges or Desmond Main?
Oh, that's good. That's good. I'm gonna go Bridges for now.
That's fair. Chris Middleton or Fred VanVleet?
Oh Jesus! I cannot wait for my mentions tomorrow after this drops. This is great. Fred's been better this year.
Wow! Finally did it, folks. Only took a year. Chris
What do you-
Middleton got L on one of these questions.
Wow.
Zach LaVine or Donovan Mitchell?
We are really playing the hits. That's crazy. Levine. As I yelled about De'Aaron Fox at the point of attack, Donovan Mitchell, buddy. Not great.
Oh, that's a good question from Commander.
Oh, let's pull this up. All right. If the basketball gods allowed you to steal an all-time great signature move, what would it be and why?
Either Michael Jordan or Rasheed Wallace's fadeaway.
Okay.
I think Rasheed's an all-time great. I don't care.
Okay. A Portland man through and through. I respect it.
Easy there.
All right.
Kemba Walker step back.
That's a bad shot. I know what you're doing. That is not funny. You should be ashamed of yourself. My original answer was the Dirk fade. However, if I could throw in a submission, I don't think he's done it in the actual game yet. But like, there's this clip etched in my mind of like Chris Paul at some sort of workout, and he like drives right, goes behind. I feel like you know the clip. It's like a spin jumper, but he goes behind the back with the gather and stuff. Like it's absurd. Like I would take that. Oh goodness. Cade in 5 years or Dame in 5 years? Cade. I have no idea what Dame's gonna look like in 5 years. I will post the Chris Paul clip on my timeline and you will understand why I chose it.
Dame.
You're taking Dame in 5 years over Cade. Unbelievable. Will the Rockets regret picking Green over Mobley? I don't think they're going to regret it. I do think Mobley is and will be better.
I don't think we get this Mobley in Houston. Not that he's not talented, but I think he pops a lot better for Cleveland. So I don't think they will.
Okay. The most busty opinion. Oh goodness.
Oh, did have a quick question for you.
Okay.
Do you think Cam Reddish should have more playing time?
I hate this. I already know what it is. Like I've seen it. It's like I want to say no off principle. However, I will say starting TLC, if bringing Cam Reddish off the bench is certainly a choice.
The agenda continues, folks.
I hate it here.
The agenda
Definitely
continues.
hate it here. Do the Warriors already regret picking Wiseman? I think it's going to depend on what they trade him for. Like, I don't know if that counts as like a take, but like, I think that's going to be your answer. Because like, obviously in hindsight, with what Steve Kerr wants to do offensively and the read and react stuff, like LaMelo just feels like a hand and glove fit for what they would want to do and would serve as a bridge for Steph, could play with Steph and stuff. So like, yeah, like they probably would want to have that back. However, they're also like the best team in the league right now, and Wiseman hasn't played. And somebody's going to be intrigued by what Wiseman could be.
And Wiseman could still be good for them. We just don't really know exactly what it could turn out to be. But LaMelo being this good doesn't help them. Quick question for you, Nikias.
Okay.
Does Malik Monk have a J.R. Smith path?
I could see it. Already got the chemistry down with Braun.
You like what's going on there between those two? January 8th, Kendrick Perkins, Malik Monk might have a J.R. Smith career path. Good morning and carry on. ... The agenda continues.
This is awful. Quick shout out to a friend of the podcast, Jackson Frank, who wrote an article about Malik Monk and the way the Lakers offense has taken off since he's been in the starting lineup. So check that out if you have not already. If you had to bet which contender gets Jeremy Grant, who you betting? The Denver. No, I'm just kidding. Honestly, this. Like I want to like Chicago makes the most sense. I feel like, but also they're in the same division.
I'm just gonna tap out and say Lakers.
I would be kind of upset. Not upset. The upset's not the right word. THT is starting to play better. And so this right on cue. That's crazy. But like THT is starting to play better, look more comfortable. And so if Detroit is able to talk themselves into THT, that just doesn't seem like enough. Like I don't know. Like if you're a team trading away something, and the headline of the package is THT or Duncan Robinson.
Wow,
like,
slander.
No, I'm asking. Like, You want the shot on THT, or are you taking what Duncan brings? Because like on one hand, like THT is obviously younger, but he's not as good as Duncan. And if you're Duncan, he has the elite skill, but also the contract.
I might go THT there.
Okay.
If I'm young and trying to figure things out, in theory, but you know.
I feel that.
Speaking of in theory, oh, go ahead. Oh, I like this question, Miles.
There we go. From Miles, Memphis or Dallas? Who's more of a threat come playoff time?
Memphis.
I think I'm also there with Memphis.
Are you just trying to be able to go on Beale Street this spring?
Oh, brother. Oh, this isn't the question, it's a comment. Duncan is a piece for a contending team, complete waste of time for a rebuild. I don't think he's a complete waste of time for a rebuild.
Complete waste of time is probably strong, but it's not the same.
Yeah, like it's not like I am not opposed to the notion that taking the upside swing makes more sense for a young team. But like as we brought up, Jeremy Grant thing from Miami is like you have Cade in tow. You have Sadiq Bey in tow. Like you need someone to space the floor for them. Heck, they signed Kelly Olynyk for this very reason. He just hasn't played. So like there's utility for vets with those kind of skills. Like it doesn't have to be like I get it, but yeah, I can't get there with complete waste of time. This is an interesting question. What's your favorite skill leap from a player so far this season? Like Jones's 3-point shooting.
Probably John Morant's 3-point shooting.
Okay. A lot of Ja love. I respect it. JV's 3-ball is a fun one.
Oh, is it now? I was told he's not a shooting threat when I said that in the offseason.
Is that what was said?
Yeah. How could you say that?
If I remember correctly, this was the whole he takes like 2 a game thing. And then he improved the volume. So like now it's more of a thing. But anyway, to answer the question, let's go back to the top of the pod. Joel's passing. It's been fun. Passing and ball handling, if you want to package that together, but the passing has been fun.
DeJounte Murray's pull-up is probably the real answer.
Okay. Let's see. All right. What bottom half team do you see making a playoff push this year? And we'll take a couple.
Define half for me. Is that like not in the top 6?
Yeah, let's say like play in or below.
Play in or below. Out east, I would probably say I'm going to go Charlotte.
Okay.
And out west, going to go with those plucky underdog Lakers.
The We Believe Lakers. Okay. Out east, and I recognize this is going to be completely on brand, but like I do think Atlanta can pull it together. They need some health. They need a move. But like the top end is, I'm not ready to give up on that yet.
Did you know the Atlanta Hawks have one more win than the Sacramento Kings this year?
I do. That's not a great place to be.
Just curious if you knew that.
It's not ideal, I'm going to be honest.
Speaking of not ideal, I do have a quick question for you.
Okay.
LaMarcus Aldridge or Blake Griffin?
Aldridge.
Udonis Haslem or DeAndre Jordan?
Oh God. I think DeAndre.
Is Rui Hachimura the next Giannis?
Jesus Christ. I can't do this. Are we gonna sure, let's do it. Do you believe Killian Hayes still has a pathway to being a starter in the NBA? Please say yes. I mean, there's a Steve has now cut off his camera again because we're talking about Killian Hayes. That's fun. He can. Like I think the defense is kind of there. If you get the shot to a certain level, like that gives you the low usage guard you want next to a wing creator. or whatever you want to call Cade Cunningham. So, like, I mean, yeah, there's a pathway to it. Steve, you can come back. I am done talking about Killian Hayes. We're good.
You sure?
Yes, yeah, we're good. Miles asked about all NBA teams so far. Not going to answer that yet because we are going to have that episode very, very soon. By very soon, we are scheduled to have that episode next Monday. So,
a tease.
Yeah, we are getting into some awards.
I can't wait to see what Nikias comes up with next week after the All-Star episode. Ooh, boy.
We're going to have some fun. We're going to have some fun.
This man's going to make a case for Chris Finch being coach of the year.
I mean,
all right.
They're at 8, you know, they're half a game behind those vaunted Lakers. Game out of the top 6 spot. I'm probably not going to argue him number 1. I will spoil it and say he's probably not one for me, but he's been good. Koo's getting all the Detroit questions in. I respect it. Is Dwayne Casey a good coach?
Yes.
Okay. I think he's fine. I want to see him like coach 5 games in a row. Like, that would be cool for him to do. I hope he's okay. Hope him and his loved ones are fine and healthy. Oh no. Start bench cut. Jackson Hayes, Killian Hayes, or Jarvis Hayes. That is Jarvis Hayes is the ex-Wizard, correct? Am I remembering that correctly?
I'm going to bail you out on this one.
I want to say, let's pull up Basketball Reference. I'm pretty sure he was on those like late 2000s Wizard team. Like, that's not I can't be making that up. I refuse to believe that I'm making that up. Okay. Hayes was the 10th pick of the 2003 draft from the Wizards. All right. I knew I wasn't making that up. All right. Anyway. Jesus. Are we okay? Start Killian, bench Jarvis, cut Jackson. Is that where we're at right now?
Start Jarvis, bench Jackson.
And you're cutting Killian.
He's out here.
Okay. Oh, this is for me.
Oh,
I don't like
it.
this. Okay, this is evil. All right, start bench cut. Chris Finch, Chris Middleton, and Chris Paul. Oh, goodness. This is actually a pretty easy one for me. We're starting Chris Paul. We're benching Chris Middleton. We're cutting Chris Finch. But bless him for what he's done for Minnesota.
Let's see Fred VanVleet.
Oh, brother. That's incredible. Do you have any more? And we can close this thing out.
Nah, that's all I got.
Okay. Jesus. Thank y'all for rocking with us with the live stream. Thank you again to the listeners for rocking with us for an entire year. And thank you for listening to this episode of The Dunker Spot. We are on Apple, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, Podbean, wherever you get your pods. You can find us. You can find me on Twitter at Nikias NBA. You can find Steve on Twitter at SteveJones20. And with that, we will catch y'all later in the week with the defense episode. So if you have questions about defense, any questions pertaining to defense, email us at dunkerspot@yahoo.com. We will catch y'all later.
Rudy Gobert is a top 5 defender of all time.